Welcome, 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 welcome. Right? I sent you a request. Are you there? Are you there? Are you there? Okay, there we go. Hello, hello, hello. I see you.
Hi.
Hello, 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 sis. How
Can
you
you hear
doing?
me?
I
Yeah,
can
because
hear
you keep
you. I can hear you. And yes, this is
oh
Eva.
wow.
Okay, so today, okay, can you see me now? Am I good now?
Yes.
Okay. Right, sis. I'm so excited to have you here today. So, for those of you joining me, I have my big sis in the house. She is a pioneer of the event industry in Nigeria. She is the former chairman of Eventful Limited. She's an attorney. She was the company secretary of EcoBank for how many years now, sis?
Yeah.
Many
So
years.
long ago.
Yes. And I'm so excited to have you. So, like I said, today we are going to be talking about how to build strategic relationships. And so, it's so interesting because even this, our connection is strategic, because your bestie happens to be my mentor. So,
And she introduced us. Remember we kept
my bestie, I had your bestie yesterday, and she happens to be my mentor. So excited to have you. So I'm going to have you share some opening thoughts, and then we will dive right into our discussion. So yes.
hi. Hello. Kemo, and hi to everybody who's joined. And honestly, if you came in and you were not excited, the minute you saw her and all her expressions and all the joy they beam, you yourself will get into the mood. Oh,
Absolutely.
so talking about building strategic relationships. I mean, first of all, relationships are so key. They're so instrumental to us as human beings. I mean, from our very first, from the day we were born, we forge relationships with our parents, with our siblings, with our friends. I mean, and then of course, as we grow older, we begin to have more strategic alliances. I think for me, the first most important thing about building a strategic relationship is that you have to be very intentional about it. I mean, of course, some relationships will just happen as a course of time. But I think if you want to be strategic, you must be intentional. And I think for me, intentionality, the first thing has to be in making people a priority. I mean, you have to care about people. You have to like people. You have to, you have to really be interested in people. Because if you're not, you're never going to get to that stage where you actually build a relationship that will then transcend to other things. So intentionality, prioritizing people, and then you have to look at it as an investment, and when you have an investment, it's also important. It's not just one way. You don't want to be the person in a relationship that all you're doing is take and
we
take.
talked about that.
Yes. So it's important that the relationship is two-way, like you're giving and as well as you're taking. So I think that's very essential for building strategic relationships. And then, I think it's also important to be authentically yourself. Just make sure that you are who you say you are. You represent yourself. You are not one thing in one relationship and another thing in another. Just be yourself. Be consistent. So I think for me, those are the three opening points I'd like to make about building strategic relationships. As we go along, we'll add more.
Okay, fantastic. It's so interesting that when I was thinking about this topic, the one thing on my mind was that issue of intentionality. Because I believe that we have to be very, very intentional in cultivating relationships. And I have a story to share with you. When I was in Nigeria, I was in this church, and I used to look at my pastor's wife, and I just kept saying to myself, oh my God, I would love to have a relationship with her. And then one day it occurred to me that, okay, she had two little children, and that was, a way for me to be able to get to have a relationship with her. So I woke up to her one day after church, and I was like, oh Pastor, so and so, that, I just want to let you know that if you need help with the girls, I'm willing, I have the time, I'll be more than willing to help you. And then one day she just called me and she was like, oh, they needed to go somewhere. Would I be able to take them? And I took them. And so that strategically placing myself, positioning myself really as it were, in an area of need that she had, was how we were able to build a relationship. Because, many times I always say that when you see a relationship that works, whether it's a marriage, whether it's friendship, it's a commitment by two people to make it work. So, hello, are you there?
Oh, wow. Oh, oh wow. Why?
What happened?
Yeah,
You lost
yeah.
power.
Can you hear me? Oh, I can't
Yes, I
even
can hear
believe
you
this.
though.
And I'm on, okay. Yeah, okay. Because I'm
Smart
on the,
move. Somebody said
anyway,
smart move. Yes,
they'll put on
that
the,
was a smart move.
but you can hear me. You can hear me, but you can't see me.
I can hear you, so that's
Oh,
fine. We can
what a
actually hear
palaver.
each
Okay,
other.
in a minute, they'll put on the generator.
That'll be
Because,
right. Okay, so yeah, so and because you see, one thing that helps people connect easily with you is when you really meet them at a point of
yes.
need. You know, and so one thing I always say to people is that when you want to connect with somebody, study them. Look at what's going on in their life, where you think you can be a blessing to them, because that's actually the easiest way to connect with people. Where people feel like, oh my God, I had a need, I had something going on, and this person was able to come and help me. I mean, that's really the easiest way to connect. And you know, you talked about value in relationship because. You know, yesterday, your bestie and I were talking, and we're talking about not being taken. Because the truth is that some people, they would come into a relationship, and all they really want is to be able to take and take and take and take. And honestly, for me, a relationship, for it to work effectively, must be a two-way street. So as you're getting or gleaning from someone, it's also important for you to be able to give back. Because that's what makes it a balanced relationship that is sustainable over time. Because one of the characteristics of building a sustainable relationship that can be sustained over time is what I call servicing. You know, some people will say, oh, what do you mean? Yes, you have to service the relationship.
It's just like when you have a car. If you have a car and your car is not serviced regularly, at some point it will break down. So that's the analogy I always like to use, that any relationship you find yourself with, you must make a commitment to constantly service it, grease it, you know, so that you can sustain the relationship on a long-term basis.
Investment, so, investment, because when you invest, you get rewards, but you have to invest. You put something in it to be able to get something back out of it. So it's very, very important that you actually see it as something that is, there is a reward to come with it, but you must also do the work. You can't just be there receiving all the time. Yeah.
So the other thing I wanted to talk about briefly is that what are the keys to sustaining relationship? You know, we've talked about, okay, you have to invest in it, but what are some practical things that you can do to actually sustain the relationship? You know, so from your perspective, because I see you have your circle of friends, and you've been friends for a long time. So I'm sure that would help you to throw a bit more light on what we can do to sustain relationships over a long period of time.
I think, first of all, mutual interests actually is always a place to start, you know. And then, you know, if it's a relationship that is not even a friend or social relationship, maybe it's a business relationship, you can find out what kind of things are they interested in, you know. I mean, one thing, when I was running the events company, which, as you know, I'm retired, and I hope they still do this, we used to make...
You're enjoying your time as a grandma.
Make sure
I know you relish in that role. Yes.
We sort of keep in touch with clients, like, you know, whether it's birthdays, whether it's anniversaries, whether it's when you see them at events, you give them special treatment, even though the event is not theirs, because you know them and them as a client. So you go that extra mile for them. So I think for that in terms of business, but in terms of socials, I think having shared interests and pursuing those interests, I think that also helps in sustaining it. Just making sure that, you know, there's always something that's adding value. There's always something that's value in the relationship. So that there's always to build on, something to, you know, build on, something to look forward to, something to enhance the relationship. So I think for me, that might be a way of sustaining, you know, sustaining it.
Absolutely. And, you know, yesterday we were talking about mutual respect too, because it's very difficult for you to be in a relationship where there's a total lack of respect. whether, it's a marriage, it's a friendship, or even a work relationship. It's really very hard to be in a relationship where there really is no respect. And also, I find that with me, we talked about this yesterday, it's just about the same values that you share. Because, I have a bunch of friends that we all went back to school from way, way back. But I've realized that as we have grown older, we've kind of found our, what's it called? They say, find out, everybody finds their level based on the values that we have, the interests we have, what we share in common. I find that those, because I have some of my friends that their own children are actually children of they're friends of my own children. So those are all the things that make it easier for us to be able to sustain, the relationship. And also, one thing I want to say is that when you have a vision, I was just writing a blog on that, about when you have a vision, you have to now take a step back and think, what do I need to, see this vision through? And one of the things I talked about is surrounding yourself with the right people, which is what strategic relationships are. Relationships that you intentionally pursue because they would help you further your goals, your vision, or whatever aspirations you have. And that was really the case for me when I got into the bank. I wanted to get myself connected to somebody that I felt would be able to help me accomplish the vision that I had at that stage of my life. So it's all about strategy, because really when you talk about strategy, what are you talking about? You're talking about a plan that would help you accomplish your plan or your vision or your goal. So that's really what strategy is. You've been in the bank. Every end of the year, we have strategy sessions for the next year. And in essence, what we're doing is that we're planning, around the things that would help us accomplish our goals for the next year. So that's really what strategic relationships are
You
about.
spoke about respect, and I think that's also very important, because also in building these relationships, respect is also giving space, because you don't want to, if it's a professional relationship, you don't want to now be overbearing to a state where you're actually almost annoying. So you need to know boundaries. Very important. You know boundaries.
Yeah. No, but it's true. It really does happen. It really does happen.
You're like, oh, please. So you those professional and client relationships, and even with personal friendships as well. Because there are various levels of friendships, as you say. One important thing about all these relationships, about these strategic relationships, that both of you must grow. Both of you must be getting something from. So
exactly.
Person must be. There must be something, some value that is being added. But that respect thing.
Yeah. I like to say it should be symbiotic and not parasitic, if you know what I mean.
You don't want to, you know.
Oh my God. I always like to, hey, I see me Agumbiade in the house. I see Sim. Okay, yes. That's another strategic relationship right there.
And talking about that, very, very be considered as somebody who actually there's one thing you want out of it. You understand? So you also have to be very, very mindful that you don't present yourself as, oh, this woman can get me to where I want to get to, so I'm going to hang on to her coattails. So they make sure.
Yes. So in other words, we are saying that. So, but you know what? There's a thought I had, because from what they are saying, okay, someone is asking a question, but let me just share this thought. So is there a difference between having an agenda? Because, people can come into a relationship having an ulterior motive, while some people are really coming in because they really have a genuine desire to have someone guide them. So,
you are a lawyer, it's true, you're a lawyer. Lawyer. So is there a difference in whether or not somebody's actually has the best of intentions when they enter into a relationship, as opposed to just wanting to just come in and take the best of relationship and leave, So.
Well, I don't know. I think it's two things that you have to be mindful, because what you're saying is some people are going in just for a reason. I want to be friends with this person because I know she's going to introduce me to these kind of people.
Exactly.
But then you see, whoever that person is does not want to feel used. Do you understand? Because whilst it's all right to have a business plan for your life, is And it's all right to have goals that you want to achieve. And clearly, sometimes you will need people to achieve these goals. You have to try not to be too, what's that word I'm looking for? But there's I can't think of it, as if that is the only reason that you're
a user. It's called using. You don't want to seem like a user, right?
A bit more delicate than the word user. Yes. Which is why that you're also giving. I think that's actually really quite important. So it's a thin line. It's a thin line, but it will be crossed. It will be in the way you behave. That is the lines will be made.
Okay. So we have a question. I think we've kind of gone around the question a bit. The person says, how you can know the boundaries to set with friends in order to not seem overbearing? So that's a question somebody, because relationship is also about boundaries, because I find that when we don't have boundaries in relationship, people are bound. That's when disrespect will come in, people will take you for granted, and people will not respect the access they have. So I guess this person is saying that, how do you know the boundaries?
I think that it's something you said earlier. You need to study the person you're going with. People are very different. There's some people who are very open, who are very engaging, who really don't mind you coming into their space and filling their space. But there's some people who are reserved, people who are very private. So if you find that somebody is a private person, you need to know that person will not want you getting into their space and getting into their business. So it's about understanding these people. So you must be extremely, you must be extremely emotionally savvy. You must have emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence.
So that you know the kind of person, so that you know how far you can go. And if you overstep your boundaries, most people will call you to order and say, you know what, that's not on. You can't call me at 7 a.m. in the morning because you want to say hi. You cannot drop by my house at 10 p.m. because that's
exactly. And I think it also has to do with the depth of the relationship, because even yesterday when we were speaking, Mrs. Awishka and myself, she talked about having many mentees, but then there were different, even within our mentees, there were different relationships. There were some that were like sisters, some are like daughters, and those two are very different relationships. So I feel like there are some things that there are people that they will be able to get away with it, because they have more access to you, as it were. But I always say that, you have to study people before you give them access. Because I remember one time I was talking to my pastor and he said to me, some people just cannot handle access. And so that's why you must be able to study people and see and think, okay, if I give this people, there's some people in my life that they have all the access that they can have, and they have never abused it. But there are other people that you give them limited access, and even that limited one, they will abuse it. So it's about also being intuitive. It's being intuitive, and especially being a Christian. I kind of scope people out in the spirit, as it were, before I give them access. So because it's really very important. Because I find that at times, once you're giving people that access, it becomes very difficult to it becomes very difficult to pull back the access. So that's where you have to be careful in the first place about letting people get that access if you feel that they would abuse it. So somebody talked about boundaries versus individual differences. Okay, I don't know, can this person please just shed a little bit more light on that, what you mean by boundaries as opposed to individual differences?
So summarizing what we have said. That's what I
think. Okay, she was summarizing. Okay, good. So what are the benefits? Let's take a moment. We've talked about establishing boundaries, about, what are the benefits to be derived from a relationship that has been strategically built? What are the many benefits? There's so many benefits.
I mean, first of all, you always need somebody. I think why it's important to build strategic relationships is that you must always know just one other person removed that can help you to get something you want to get. Do you understand? I mean, like I had a situation recently where a young friend had a situation, and he needed somebody in a position that there was no way he could have known that person. But I knew that person that position. And because of the relationship I had with that person, I was able to access and engage that person and help to resolve the situation. So one thing strategic relationships give is that it gives access at the time, at another time. So that's always very important. That other, somebody to be able to speak for you in places where you cannot go. So that's one. Another advantage, of course, is that it helps you to maybe get to places that you may not have been able to get, you know, because people can open doors that you may not have been able to open. So I think those are part of the advantage.
But my husband is always saying that there's always somebody that knows somebody. There's always somebody that knows somebody. It's all about finding that person that knows somebody, you know. So because I don't know there's been any times in my life that I've been looking for someone that knows somebody, and by the time I call 2-3 people, they'll be like, "Oh yes, I know this person, but I know somebody who knows them," you know. So that's always so interesting.
One step away from knowing that somebody. And what I want to also know is that it's not always about somebody higher than you. It can be your child.
Absolutely, that is
and it's my daughter who's, I'm friends with her. I know her, I mean, her mom is whatever, and she'll be the one that an introduction. One thing from my dad.
True.
My father was somebody who made friends with the young, the old, the rich, the poor. He was a people's person, and that really trickled down to all of us. So I have friends in all categories, and I think that is your relationships, because you will now find that you have somebody in every nook and corner, you know, whether it's government, whether it's politics, whether it's the artisans, whether it is, you know, young people, whether it is millennials, Gen Z. So you just have your, you know, you're able to just, you know, always have somebody who knows somebody. Very important.
Yeah. So this person is asking this question. I think we talked about it earlier. She's asking, how do you approach someone to establish a relationship with them with poor social skills, or how can you improve your social skills? So that's interesting. So this person is saying, okay, I want to be able to establish a relationship, but maybe I don't feel like I know how to do it. Somebody must know somebody. I like that question.
I think that person should start with their immediate family, because as I said, a lot of people, it's easy for people who are outgoing personalities, who are extroverts. It's easy for them to form relationships. They're not shy. They're not bothered about being they're not shy. They don't mind if the person doesn't really respond. But when people are sensitive and they're shy, they might find it a bit more difficult. So I would suggest start with your immediate family. You know, practice with them. When you go out, you know, try to go to places where you actually don't know the people, so that you don't feel too. Go up and talk to find a point of interest. You know, it might. I find that these my glasses are a great conversation starter. Anywhere.
No, but it's true. You people in Nigeria, you just are very, very, very interesting glasses. You know,
Just pick on some.
I tell you something interesting. Because I'm supposed to change my glasses. So I got my prescription. I can't get glasses. I get to Nigeria, I got three frames. I'm like, I don't know what it is about Nigeria. You people like glasses.
They're part of our accessories. So, but what I'm saying.
I see that indeed. I absolutely see that.
Little thing.
Yes. So talking about strategic relationships, I want to thank you, because it's because of our strategic relationship that you agreed to be one of our mentors on the Women's Lifestyle Hub. And for those of you who are listening, the Women's Lifestyle Hub is a community, it's a platform of executive women, or women who are aspiring to be executives. And basically what we do in the hub, we have a leadership program that runs for 6 weeks. We call it our leadership induction program. And once you go through that program, you are able to subscribe into the hub. And in the hub, we have fantastic mentors like my dear sis, Mrs. Zaccheaus. We have Mrs. Ibukwa Woshika. Tarafela Durotoye is also one of our mentors. And we just have a great deal of mentors. And one thing I always encourage about the hub is for people to build meaningful relationships, because you never can tell when you would be able to draw on that relationship. Because the way I see relationships at times, when you invest in it, is like you're putting your money in the bank.
So when you continue to put your money in the bank, at some point when you need money, you will go to the bank and you'll be able to withdraw. So that is really how, I also view investing in relationships. So for those who are listening, if you're interested, you can jump to my page, at Bola Mateloko. If you go to my bio, or you can go to my website, bolamateloko.com. You will be able to see some more information about Women's Lifestyle Hub. And if you have any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer them. So, sis, as we close, I want you to share some closing thoughts, because this is a 30 minutes. Never try to stop us, but I mean, I'll just share some thoughts.
The lady who asked, look, and I think it's important to address those who feel, look, I don't have those social skills. How do I, how do I develop them? I think another way is to join clubs, like somewhere like the Women's Lifestyle Hub is a classic example. I mean, where you join other organizations, where you have like-minded women, you begin to develop that confidence to talk about yourself. You see other women doing things. You see other women, and you're like, okay, this is a community. This is where I can share. This is a safe space. And I think that once you start with those kind of associations and begin to build relationships, slowly but surely, you'll get out of your private zone, and you'll begin to see how you can expand your community and leverage on your own interests and actually make.
I love that word, leverage, because that's what strategic relationship is about, leveraging a relationship. So Lorena AA, you asked a question. I want you to DM me. So I see your question. Is there an age limit? So just DM me and we can chat, and I'll be more than happy to answer your question. So anyway, recently we had fun at our. Do you want to tell them about brunch?
That
was so much fun.
It was. When is it? That was
brunch, yes.
That was lovely.
We had yes. So recently we had we just graduated our first cohort of our 6-week leadership induction program, and we had a lovely brunch in Lagos to celebrate with our graduates. So like I said, how do you end a friendship that is no longer serving? Do we want to take this on before we get up? This lady said, how do you end a friendship that is no longer serving? Change is that for people to accept. Oh, Kiki Kran, you're coming to my DM. Okay, no, wait, I'll be waiting. So how do you end a relationship that is no longer working?
Well,
would you want to help with this one?
With wisdom. So you begin to withdraw yourself. You begin to politely decline invitations to get together. You begin to slow down on the calls, on the visits, on the text messages. So as the other notices that there's a pullback,
we get the message at some point.
Why is ready to explain? You're ready to explain. But I think by just withdrawing.
Some people do not get the message, or that subtle message, they will not get it. And you have to at some point. You have to be able to be a bit more direct. But anyway, awesome. So anyway, like I said, Women's Lifestyle Hub, we're all about community building, strategic relationships. I'm so happy to say that my first cohort, I had 18 ladies, and these people actually flew from one person flew from where they went to another state to go and hang out and go shopping. And I'm like, God, that just filled my heart with so much joy, because that is what my vision is for Women's Lifestyle Hub. I always say that there's this myth floating all around the place that women don't support women, but that's not true. Hey, I just saw my BFF in the house. My BFF, you came late, we're about to jump off. Hello, my BFF. See, talk about strategic relationships. Yes. Oh, and one of my members from Cohort 1 has just jumped in and said, fantastic 6-week program. Thank you, Luasumba Lualano. She was on the first cohort of our 6-week leadership program. So awesome. So my sis, it's been such a wonderful. Oh, and I see Adenike. Adenike was also one of the ladies on our just concluded cohort of our 6-week leadership program. So I'm looking forward. The next cohort will be kicking off on the 9th of July, and we have just a few more spaces. So if you are interested, send me a DM and I'll be able to. This is impactful. Thank you, Primlicious. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'll be able to give you more information. Sis, I love you, love you, love you. And I'm coming over for tea, coffee. Yeah. I love you. I just want to say I appreciate you. You know, like I said to Mr. Wishikatu yesterday, both of you have been such big sissies to me. You know, every time I call you, you're always there, and I'm so grateful. I don't take it for granted. And one of the ways we also nurture strategic relationship is through gratitude and appreciation. So I just want to take a moment to let you know I appreciate you. I love you, love you, love you. Thank you for all you do. And I don't take you for granted one bit.
Always a
okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right, thank you, thank you. Oh, I said there's so many people from my cohort. Oh, look, yes. Thank you for all these testimonials. That was an impactful program. Thank you. I'm so grateful. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and it is a wrap. I have one more live coming up tomorrow. I'm going to be talking to Omaumi Egbe. She's a brand specialist, and we're going to be talking about positioning yourself for success. I think you want to be in on that tomorrow. So till then, bye. See you later. Bye.